Oh, no, no. I don't want to interrupt the great Charlie. But, Neil, I will ask you, what is wrong with Charlie? He's on the cusp of being the Secretary of Commerce for Trump. And all last night, he denied the whole success of last night on your show. I was very disappointed with Charlie last night.
Well, you're not the only one. But, Charlie, let me get your opinion on this. If we just stick to this, guys, I'd appreciate it. This announcement, what do you think it could be? I mean, there have been talk that Romney might enter the race himself.
Yeah.
No, I think it's Rubio, Neil.
Really?
I think,
agree.
listen, if I'm betting based on what I know, the Huffington Post put out a story last week, which was denied by the Rubio people that Mitt Romney was going to endorse him. And then, the endorsement never came. I understand that story was largely accurate.
Would that endorsement make any difference at this stage?
But that's a whole other question. I think he's going to endorse him, okay?
Right.
And that's what I think is going to happen. Now, whether it works or not it gets into the long game that I'm talking about. If they really want to dislodge Trump, which I think they do, they don't believe he should be the standard bearer of either the conservative movement or the Republican Party, they're playing some long game where they're going to take him out at the convention.
Well, John, what do you make of that? That obviously something's afoot, and maybe the preview was last week on this tax thing. Maybe another sign was yesterday, Paul Ryan on the prejudice comments, obviously aimed at Donald Trump, saying there's no room for that in the Republican Party. But something's going on here. What do you think it is?
Neil, I agree with you. I think, and I agree with Charlie. I think that Romney is going to weigh in with the establishment side and endorse Marco. I agree with Charlie on the PAC investments getting together to go against Trump. However, I will say I know that there are, Christie finance people that are backing Trump, and there are large private donors that are on board with Donald. And so
how about Ray?
I think that,
how about your buddy Ray?
I'm not going to get into. I can't get into any specifics, Mr. Gasparino. But I will say that I think, and Neil, I think we're talking about the brand, and people are worried about protecting the brand. But it seems to me that they're stuck in the mud. I mean, Donald Trump is offering.
What about you, John? What about you? You're a loyal Republican. If it is Donald Trump, whatever your difference is, would you back him?
I will back whoever is the Republican nominee based on what 50 states and all the voters and all the delegates have selected. And I am there because I think it will be a better long-term solution for this country than either of the Democratic nominees.
By the way, Ray Washburn, Neil, it was Christie's campaign finance manager.
That's right. Guys, more news is coming in. If I can just get to this. We're told by John Roberts, who's been following this very closely, that Romney will not make an endorsement, but he will talk about the Republican Party's direction if the current course continues, whether that is meant to disparage Donald Trump and the dangers there in the establishment, for lack of a better word, seasoned Donald Trump. Who knows? But, John, if that's the case, that would just open up big old wounds, wouldn't it?
It absolutely would. And I think you're having people that are in an 8-track mindset and living in a digital download world. We need to embrace.
That's a very good analogy. That is a very good analogy.
This is a new.
But back in the 1960s, let's be real clear, and maybe even earlier, Bill Buckley, the head of the National Review, put his foot down and said there are certain things that the conservative movement and by extension the Republican Party stands for these days. One of those things that he ousted from the Republican Party was any notion that we associate ourselves with the John Birch Society or people that are like David Duke. Why are we having this discussion now? And I think Mitt Romney is going to bring that up. This is an unholy discussion that we are having right now. It's outrageous that we should be talking about David Duke, that someone who's going to be our nominee, a man who I actually like.
He has disavowed David Duke. Why are you constantly on saying he is?
Because my first reaction when I hear David Duke, and your first reaction, Neil, and you should stop making excuses for him, is
why don't you quit charging him with stuff that he didn't say?
He said, I don't know
about that guy. I'd like to get John's thought on this. John, whatever your opinion of this, do you think Donald Trump is a racist?
Neil, no, I do not. And I can tell you that earlier this week I was with a prominent NFL team owner that was a business partner with Mr. Trump in the USFL. I was with several major executives that worked with Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization in Atlantic City in the casinos, and I have never, ever heard or even experienced being around him to be a racist.
Of course he's not a racist. He's a panderer.
All right. We're very well, guys.
Charlie,
we ought to
Charlie,
guys are going to way off track here. We can argue this a little later. I do want to take people, and guys, I want to thank you both.